then I got invited by these spiritual teachers who I thought, were faults in themselves, but they're good-natured people. But they're harmful in every possible way, both to their children, to themselves, but they're good people. I love them a lot, yeah? But that's, that doesn't make them good people, yeah? So because I trusted them, because I loved them, I allowed myself to accept an invitation to teach during one of their massive weekend courses that they give, yeah? And they give a course in Hawaii. And I went, wow, are you kidding me? You're inviting me to go to Hawaii? And I'm in London, and I'm going, yes, I would love to go to Hawaii and be in your course, So it's a 2-day course, and they sponsored me to go there, stay at a hotel, the whole thing. It was really a kick in the butt, because, that is not my experience. Yeah, it's not my experience. I do not teach openly in any way. I meditate, I purify, I cleanse, I change, I move on. And I try and do my best, but I'm not usually in a position of teaching a whole lot. But I did in London for 2 years, and that's what got me into this position, yeah? So one of the people in that class invites me to go to Hawaii. I go to Hawaii. I give the classes, yeah, and this is, I'm going to show you what I gave when I first sat down and started my class. This is what I did. This is what I do. This is what I said. Okay, so basically what I do is I represent a place called Shambhala. Okay, all Buddhas come from Shambhala. All the relationships of the Christ principle, all the relationships of previous incarnations of avatars, they all come through this place called Shambhala. Shambhala is not a location, it's not a physical place, it's in the mind of the planetary logos. It's a process called evolution. Okay. And out of Shambhala, there's a place called the hierarchy. Within the hierarchy, there are people from the human realm that evolve upwardly, spiraling through initiations by the emanations that come from Shambhala, creating the likeness of heaven and earth to become a mirror image called Buddhahood, or Buddha consciousness. Make sense? Everybody's got me. Okay. That process, the entire realm of evolution, from the plants, the animals, the elementals, the kingdom of humanity, into the next kingdom, which is the kingdom of the Buddhas. And they release the qualities of compassion, understanding through wisdom and love. And they allow everything to come into Buddha consciousness, including animals, including plants, including elementals, and they give liberation to demons. They bring demons into the quality through evolution, through the species called the human being. So through the qualities of Shambhala, through the qualities of Buddha consciousness, it emanates the qualities of liberation throughout all the kingdoms. That liberation has no limitations. It includes the elemental kingdom, the etheric kingdom of light and darkness, its relationship to the demons and the hobgoblins and the ghouls and the ghosts, and people who stuck in purgatory, people who are placed in hell. All those kingdoms are liberated by the Buddhas, by the qualities of aspiration rather than devotion. In this kingdom, the human kingdom, we have people who call themselves masters, and they present themselves as being gods, and they present themselves as past incarnations of the Buddhas. If they do that, they are not the Buddhas. They are not responsible for the relationship of humanity. They are constantly creating an involutionary pressure upon humanity to not become Buddha, but to become gods. And all creations of life is not to become gods, but to become Buddha. And through becoming Buddha, you become God consciousness, and God exists. Does this make sense? Good. Light that emanates from the female quality and the light that emanates from the male quality, the two blended together becomes the quality of evolution. When those two qualities are separated into aspects called God, goddess, and God, male God, it creates demons. It creates an opposite of God, which would have to be hell beings. So in order to eliminate that, the Buddha incarnated and said, forget God. Don't seek God. Don't ask to become God. Just become harmless. Make sense? So through the human vehicle, we have an astral body that is very powerful and creates religions. It creates all qualities of demonic possession, devils, hobgoblins, and demons. If we project negativity or doubt, the relationship, it's like we look out at the world and all religions are based on hell. It's based on the fact you need to be saved. God has turned his back on you somehow, somewhere within the scheme. Or something went wrong, or there was a great fall, or something is completely all disrupted, and these terrible demons, still too fast, these terrible demons are coming in to disrupt our lives. Every demon that has been created was created by the psychic energy projected from humanity's fear. It's projected by humanity's fear toward animals. Every quality of humanity that is projected and creates disease is manifested by humanity's perversions of sexuality. By those two energies, the energy of projected astral energy toward the animals, projected desire body energy toward man and woman in a perverted way, creates the energies of a downward spin. And that downward spin, for all the time that we've been created hell. An ever-growing process of astral collection. The fears, the qualities on the astral plane that humanity works with, projects toward, most people want to be either vegetarian, or they want to eat meat, or they want to have great separation between the wrongness of this and the rightness of that. By creating those images in their mind of wrongness, they create within that kingdom an involutionary spin. Okay? So if we go and look at meat or animals and we project deep wrongness because they're much lower vibration than ourselves, we create what we call lunar lord qualities. Qualities that within ourselves project toward that kingdom as being unholy, as being not quite as quality and high responsiveness to God as we think God would be, because we're in the likeness of God and animals don't look like God. But in reality, all of the evolutions are species from all the galaxies and all the universes, and all of them are aspects of what we call God, Buddha consciousness. Okay, so every aspect that we conjure up in our fears, that we project out, is projected into an emanation astrally and creates this Maya. And Maya is the door to hell. So if we have problems with demons, they are ancient created problems. 50,000 years ago, or 80,000 years ago. Times when human beings thought and put out religions or dogmas of enormous prejudice or bias, and collectively humanity agreed upon it. And that manifested into the world certain qualities of darkness, blocking the door of the evolutionary spin that's normally going on all the time. So as humans put out these energies, then they manifest those qualities through fear.
you doubt. If a miracle happens before you, there will be more people putting out doubt. And all of a sudden the miracle is dissipated by imperil, and it's gone. A person could be completely relieved of a lunar lord or a dark magician or a demonic force. 10 minutes later, because of their relationships in life, projecting doubt to them that that can't happen, all of a sudden it didn't happen. Jesus could have incarnated, which he did, and could raise the dead, and could heal the sick. But for every time he healed the sick, if they didn't hold the faith, despite the frequency of doubt within their brothers and sisters, the healing was gone. It had nothing to do with Jesus being able to hold the person in the light. It has to do with the doubt being greater than the faith. The involutionary spin being greater than the evolutionary spin. Does this make sense? So, that's just covering the area of looking at the area of what it is we're dealing with. We're dealing with ancient evil karma. Sharing of ancient evil karma. For every doubting mind, for every concrete thought of unable to be creative and open-minded, is a block against the evolution of the whole. So the more the spontaneity comes in, the more the ability to become close and loving and friendly and caring, sharing, compassionate, not of pity, not of sympathy, not of wanting to be loved, but of an energy that's involved with the impersonal qualities that allows the whatever circumstances are going on to take place in its full process. When humanity can reach a little bit more of that state, the one that we call Krishna, or the one that we call Sakyamuni, or the one that we call Jesus, who to me is all the same person, is in the head of that process. That's called Chenrezig, or Avalokitesvara. That's the same person, just comes in different incarnations, and has religions focused around each one not believing in the other. The Krishnas don't believe in the Jesus Christ people, and the Jesus Christ people think that the Buddha people are a bunch of demigod lovers, and that they don't like God, and that they're into their Buddha, and that they're antichrist. But they're all in a separative state, sharing evil karma, separativeness, doubt about each other. So when an avatar comes to the planet, the avatar sets a teaching and calls it recapitulation. Begins a process of recapitulating. Now that means that every human being has in them the essence of previous teachings of the avatars. And when the avatars begin processing their life back onto the earth, they recapitulate the entire world. Because the entire world is their students. Not one group, not one religion, not the Krishnas, not the Christians, not the Buddhas, but the entire world is their children. And in that process, when the avatar returns back to the planet, they recapitulate all the good merit. They revibrate a memory within inside of each human being. And all of a sudden, a common sense starts taking place. And people, like in Germany, start tearing down a wall. They don't care what the government says, because they're more Buddha now. It's not a religion that told them to do it. It's not some great political faction that got them to move. Same with Czechoslovakia. Same with all of them happening simultaneously, and they didn't sit in a cabinet as a group and make these decisions. They were overshadowed by the vibration of the avatar. Does this make sense? So it's an essence of common sense. It's not an essence of a coming of a god or a goddess. It's an essence of releasing those dogmas, the energy of the god or the goddess, and allowing people to take rule over the planet and become the caretakers of the planet through Buddha consciousness. When that takes place, we have another kingdom. We're now in what we call the fourth kingdom, the kingdom of the human being. Below that is the animal kingdom. Below that is the vegetable kingdom, and then the mineral kingdom. Added on to that is the merit of the human kingdom raising itself up into common sense, camaraderie, compassion, sharing of energy. It closes the door to channeling. Okay? On the astral plane, in the human kingdom, psychic channeling takes place. In the fifth kingdom, no channeling takes place. They do not receive information. They do not channel I am Kutumi and start talking in some weird brogue. They don't trance, write, they don't paint. They're in control of themselves. They're completely a human being, now Buddha consciousness, and they're not receiving, they're not the messenger, they just are the light. So instead of channeling light to them, as though they were chosen, instead of that, which is a human decision, that's a human desire, when that's released, when the evolution is risen at common sense, the light passes through us all, and we call it sharing of channeling. We channel light, and we don't have anything coming through us, giving us information, giving us any kind of power, nothing. We can't psychically bend metal, we can't fly, we can't dematerialize, but to heal through the etheric body, all diseases, all aspects of mental and emotional problems, it'll come to us through common sense. Does this make sense? Okay, but the false messiahs will come forth and stand in an ashram and make manifest prabhuti, or physical forms, or stand there and say, I am this Krishna. Or the females will stand there and say, I am this goddess. And they'll do magic. They'll move you with kundalini, they'll move you with psychic energy, and all they'll do is disrupt your spiritual flow and absorb your soul and manifest greater power within themselves and place you into a dormant state so that you will not be able to manifest the normal common sense it takes to live. Does this make sense? Through giving yourself up to a guru, any person who presents themselves as having the power to control kundalini and project that essence of siddha power to you, and your kundalini begins to rise without you going through the natural harmlessness of developing your centers naturally just by living a harmless life. If it's done by someone else other than yourself, then what happens is that the chakras that you have fine vibrational frequencies between each chakra, and that's an etheric web, and it harmonizes, and it only will release when you are pure. When common flow passes between you, which is called love, from each center, instead of selfishness, your energy goes out instead of pulling it in. If your center is, as in normal people, their energy is wanting something. They want to be loved, they want to be good, they think that they're bad, they want to be better, so they're drawing things to them. Their chakras are spinning the wrong way. So you're led to a guru who tells you, well, my chakras are perfect, and I could do this for you. But in reality, those people are part of a group of magicians who have used sex and money magic in order to manifest these powers. And by their use of very powerful sexual magic, they can move from the kundalini down here, and collectively together they manifest their power called siddha, which is the ability to control elements, which you are made out of. We're all made out of elements. These people who call themselves gurus or masters come forth. They're there because they have gained more power over these elementals so that they can force the elemental to move in you without nature. They do it outside of nature. So when they do that, they force a kundalini fire to come up your spine, and it burns that protective sheath. And it goes to the next chakra, and it burns that sheath. And the further it goes, the more separate you become from the ones you love. And the life that you were meant to live in a plan that's greater than your own. You become more self-centered. You become more aligned to the energy of of devotion toward the guru, because they empower your solar plex. They focus from down here, and they focus from your solar plex. And they give their energy from their brow. So when they're aligning that way, and you have no discernment, discrimination, or protection against these forces, and you walk into these ashrams, you're in a very powerful, magical environment that puts you in a position of inferiority to the great superiority of those who control elementals. And you are made of elementals. Past and even in now, we have many people projecting themselves as being masters or gurus or avatars or the Christ or Mary or whoever. Any coming from a lower elemental frequency to give false teachings or false hope by using magic, whether it be manifesting physical things, because you can't manifest physical things, you think that person is greater than yourself. And you don't seek to manifest those things when you go to that person. You only seek the blessings of that person coming to you. But in reality, you do not receive blessings. You receive a vampiric energy. They suck straight through your solar plex and you don't notice the changes. You don't notice whether it took you off a path or put you on a path because your life is too short. But when you incarnate the next time, you will find that you will have diseases that we have today, multiple sclerosis, problems within the sacral and the base centers, spinal problems, all kinds of degenerative problems within your being because you've overactivated chakric energy. And when it reincarnates, the physical body that remanifests from the elemental kingdom back into a new body is disfigured. Does that make sense? That's why we have all of these physical, emotional, and mental problems on the planet, because of misuse of psychic energy by people who are more spiritually evolved than yourself and did it in a very selfish way. Make sense? Okay. The situation is just, if you look around you and you want to come into spirituality, you have to be well aware of the reality of spirit does not mean good. Spirit can mean good and can mean bad. It can have strong left spin energies to it, which draw from you, or it can have strong right spin energies to it, which give to you. And the ones of this planet will work either as a lawyer, as an artist, as a mechanic. They'll be serving in every level of humanity in order to give right relationship to the vibration of those people who are of right nature to be in those positions in life. But they feel wrongness about being in those positions in life. So come and live out those positions so that they can purify the natural organization which we call life. That's called civilization. Does that make sense? Civilization, the qualities of humanity, is an organized quality. It's organized by all different classes of humanity. There's different qualities in people. Some people want to be an artist. Some people are meant to be scientists. Some people are meant to be psychologists. Some people are meant to be healers. Some people are meant to be lawyers and politicians. Every single area of life has an organization to it. And the hierarchy, or the relationship of the Buddha, emanate qualities of rays. Qualities that emanate 7 rays. And within those 7 rays, humanity is made up. Your personality may be the quality of harmony and allows you to be very desirous toward painting or showing different types of communication to bring forth harmony, like movies, theater, art, entertainment. There's people with what we call a 3rd ray, which is the energy that manifests active intelligence, which is business, organization, bringing things together, working in large groups of people, traveling all over the place. Every single characteristic that emanates out of the 7 rays creates civilization. The more those rays emanate their pure reasoning, their pure flowing qualities working together, they manifest the higher states of civilization, going from the human kingdom into the Buddhaic kingdom. It blends those together. Buddhas, come in and take these positions, live them out. And they live them out with more purity, more flow, more expression for what that quality really is, without perversion, without selfishness, without magic, without putting you into a position of feeling inferior. A real scientist that is of the light can talk with every other scientist and share their abilities. Those who are not are sitting in a place to where they want to have a scientific lab and they want to think that they're creating a great invention. And once they've got the invention, 20 other people simultaneously got the same idea, the same invention, so there is no such thing as separation. But in our ego, we believe there is. Okay? But when these greater beings, the only in relationship as a human being, playing out a part within the plan of civilization for evolution, to create greater ideas, scientific achievements, and the saving of human problems. Make sense? Are there those people here now? Yes, by large numbers. From the past, as these people come in, because of the human race, because of the astral plane, when they take incarnation, they also have an astral body. They're not beyond that. So they have to struggle through that, living in their emotional body. So they may show certain problems. They may be alcoholic. They may have marital problems. They may not be able to control their relationships properly. Their ego may be too inflamed. But that's because of the time, the period and the time, the lack of support, the enormous doubt between their colleagues, the cigar-smoking people that are sitting in the rooms, the one person that sits there who's trying to help organize this thing in a more synthesized way, doesn't know that that's what they're there for. They don't know this stuff. They're just there. And they're trying to deal with the fact that they're there in this room with these other people. And as time goes along, those people start feeling like they want to stop smoking cigars. They want to start communicating more. They want to start drinking Pepsi instead of whiskey. They want to start sharing their information back and forth. They don't want to send spies out to the corporation. They don't want to pay people more for lying. They start changing their attitudes within the group because maybe one person in that group is emanating a light that is vibrating on the same qualities as the other people, but they're more dense. The one who suffers the most is the person who carries the light, because they have to absorb astral illusion and they have to dispel that illusion in their daily life. So in the past, we've had many people come in like that. We've had Jesus, he came through, made major changes. We had Sakyamuni come through, he made major changes. When he sat with his people, because of the time, because of the day, because everybody was Hindu, and everybody was into these gods, and Shiva, and Vishnu, and the energy of Brahma, and when he incarnated, he had to give forth a teaching amongst all the rest of these other teachers. And all these students came from those teachers. And they felt that his teaching was good, but they carried the astral dogma of their previous teachers. Every day he was being hit by the demons projected in magic by those previous teachers, by those other magicians. So the higher the avatar, the greater the danger. The greater enormous amount of struggle that being has to go through. Does this make sense? Okay. But that helps every quality within humanity to begin raising itself to common sense and allows those qualities to begin sharing. If you're a person who's very strong, what we call will person, a person who carries a will, long, strong will, those people usually become politicians. They become leaders because they're so arrogant. They think that they should be in charge of other people. People are better off for it. And they even make themselves, can you imagine, long ago, who made the first king? Who told that person that they're king? It's self-enacted. They believe that they are under the destiny of God, and God told them that they're king. Instead of being a guru, because they have this will ray, they present themselves as a king. But if they have what they call the devotional ray sitting inside them, a person who is very strong toward religion and spirituality, then they'll project themselves as a guru. because their ego will project out like that. But another ray will project itself as being a king or a queen. And another ray will want to become president or a Hitler. You know, all those qualities manifested through the ego energy completely distorts through glamour. The areas that we call glamour. Glamour, yeah. Glamour is initiated, is created through Maya. Every good quality that we have coming from the Buddhic kingdom can be transferred through the astral plane and manifested as glamour. A person with a strong third ray, which is active intelligence, will create a web around people and draw people to them and manipulate them so powerfully that they'll be able to create organizations, large organizations that will manifest greed and money toward them. So that they'll be the manipulators of money and people. Instead of thinking that they're a messiah or a great savior, they think that they are God in the machine. And the people are the cogs, the little machines. They're the little movements. And this person's the center of it. And they control it all, just like a spider in a web, in reality. And that's the glamour behind that. But if you take the glamour out, and you help to release the energy of the astral plane, which is done by the influence of the avatars coming to the planet. They are not from this planet. They are from a larger, higher cosmic realm within all the cosmos, all the universes. This is just one planet out of them all. There are greater planets, much more sacred. And within that group is where we get our Buddhas. Our planetary Buddha is called Sanat Kumara. And his desire for orgasm, instead of going out of him, it goes up. And 2 more glands open up inside of his crown center that allows him to become Buddha, allowing procreation to take place. Because your sexual energy, instead of manifesting through desire, it manifests through higher telepathy. It takes you, closes off the astral plane in your daily life, and it will manifest within you a quality of higher intuitive telepathy so that you will be friendly. Harmlessness will project out of you very strongly. The centers inside your head will be dominant instead of the centers lower underneath your heart. The more one practices a truly loving relationship on all scales, they allow this energy to begin manifesting. That takes place in the first initiation. Okay? So most people, from what I understand, most people have gone through many initiations in previous lives. And they have to come back and recapitulate those initiations. They have to come back and start at the probationary path again as a low, I don't know anything, thinking that they know nothing, thinking that they've got to read everything. In reality, if they would just calm down and learn to love each person, they would find that that exact same power of light is inside of them. Because for every Buddha to become a Buddha, they cannot hold that light. They have to give all of their merit outwardly and not hold it. Okay, so let's say if a guru or an individual wants to become spiritual, the only way it can actually happen is if you become in right relationship as a receiver and a transmitter, and you allow the flow to happen. If you sit in right relationship and harmlessness and hold the energy of truth by that flow of energy, just by being friendly, that begins your group level relationship, and that expands out to the people next door, into the people at work, into the community at large, into the government that controls you, into the nations around the world. The healing of the nations does make manifest a complete healing once people can recapitulate their previous meritorious abilities of spirituality. So most people who seek spiritual movement are in every way first-degree initiates in previous lives. Every single person who even seeks toward that. It's just their problem is that they've got people out there who present themselves as being the spiritual leaders. And they give forth false teachings, blocking you from your own recapitulation of the very common sense of your spiritual abilities. The common sense. They'll give you teachings that are truth, but slightly twisted. And it resonates so off in you that you can't catch it. So you think they know more than you do. It's true. You know it's true. You sense you're sitting, listening to someone, and you know it's true what they're saying, but geez, I just can't seem to catch it. Well, that's only because I'm a lesser initiate than this person. But a real teacher, a real light being, holds no merit inside themselves to be any greater than the group they're sitting with. So if a Buddha or an avatar comes to the planet, they will be of the exact scale that the human race is sitting at. They may be able to communicate and give forth the teachings, but their mental, emotional, and physical bodies will be at the same level as every human being until every human being is at the level of the highest possible position that avatar can hold. Does this make sense? But that true Messiah will manifest collectively within humanity through the Holy Spirit. And that's why I mentioned that when the throat center opens up, and it takes stronger command over your sexual desire body, and the sexuality flows in right relationship, rather than individually or holding, and sexuality turns in not only into sexual lust or desire or satisfaction, but it also turns into your money. It turns into the ability for you to manifest material things, the things you want out of life, the kind of house you live in, whether or not it's a dirty house, whether or not it's an organized house, whether or not the people you have as friends are not friends, and they're actually doubting people that are projecting doubting qualities around you. All relationships in your life are built right on your sexual center. Every single relationship you have. And if it's not under the control of your Holy Spirit, the influence of the Holy Spirit, then you will not be able to discern, discriminate, and put into right order the kind of relationships you need to be the spiritual person that you are. Make sense? Okay, so that's all simple stuff, right? Easy to do. I'm laying all this out, and I'm not saying anything about what you need to do with meditate, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to stop being so mean, and all those kind of things, because that's all common sense. Anybody can figure that out. The main thing I try and point out is the fact that there are pathways that are taking you away from your path because of your fear, because you don't recognize your own divinity, and you're being taught of individual initiations, where in reality all initiations happen collectively. They never happen individually. It happens collectively. For every ability, let's say an avatar comes to the planet. Let's say the Buddha came to the planet. The Buddha comes to the planet and is a 9th degree initiate before he came to the planet. But when he comes to the planet, he's probationary. He's sitting as a very rich being. He's got a really wonderful life. He's completely enclosed. He can't see anything outside. His wife is brought to him. Life is great. He has no problems. And he is slowly but surely developing a 1st degree initiation. So he's inquisitive and he's remembering a little bit about goodness and things like that. And all of a sudden he looks out over the wall of his own little domain and he sees poverty and he sees old age and he sees the sacrifices people have to make in daily life. He sees terrible things and it hits his heart so strong, he recapitulates a 2nd initiation like that. But he's a 9th degree initiate before he came. And he's 30 years old when he does this. So he goes out and he begins a process. And what he's actually doing is that he's attuning to humanity's level of what initiations humanity has received. And it's never gone higher than a 2nd initiation. No matter whether or not people put themselves as gurus or the gods or whatever, 2nd initiation is as hot as we've ever gotten. So he, for the first time on this planet, brought forth, because of his teachings, his effort, the time he spent here, the amount of people who came near him, listened to him, they held the emanations that he was putting out, and he would not go up any higher than what his group and what the human race could move to, and he received a 3rd initiation, which was his brow center opening up. So he became enlightened. He held wisdom. He did not hold love. He held wisdom. He had great compassion. He had great understanding. But he did not hold love wisdom. He held enormous wisdom. And he was able to bring people through a truth which was not established. So he moved people away from false teachers, he moved people away from this and that, and he was very strict about the people who he had in his group. If they showed any wavering of wrong relationship, they were thrown out and were not allowed back in that life. You did not redeem yourself. You have a one-time chance with this guy. It was very difficult to deal with him because he had a very difficult job to play out, and he didn't have any time, he didn't have any energy to live in pity or sympathy or put any rules like that onto it. It was dharma that he was bringing down. So the next process, let's say he reincarnates and he comes back as Jesus. And he goes through the same kind of things. And he goes out and he goes through these situations. In the 30, he wakes up. And he's now at a third degree initiate because in previous life, in the human race, as a light of the world, he brought humanity to a third degree initiation as the Buddha. So this time he's got to go to the fourth and bring it as far as he can. So he actually talked about the dark forces, about his antithesis, about the qualities of Lucifer or the qualities of Satan. That is the initiation, moving from the third initiation to the fourth. That's called a crucifix, going on the cross. To be crucified. That means to go directly through death and pass out the other side and ascend. Not go in, but go up. So he brought humanity into a place of all of humanity, so that all of humanity could achieve this position, even though he was higher than a 9th degree initiate. He had completely attained his 9th degree initiation, and he was able to stand one-on-one with the Father. But when incarnating, he can only reach a fourth and go halfway through his fourth, and on his death, the point of his death, he received the 5th initiation, which meant for the first time an ascended being, ascended master, did come to the planet, did live on the planet. Does this make sense? Okay? Even though he's a greater avatar, he holds the body of humanity. He is the light of the world. And he can only shed so much light as to what humanity can handle. And he's responsible for that light as it goes out. So whatever happens to him in that life and anybody else, he's 100% responsible for it. So he can only give out what people are asking for, what they're capable of receiving. And in a time to where many people had been with these people. They had been with the Buddha and sat with him. They've been with Jesus and sat with him. Everybody in this room should understand reincarnation. It's a fact. It's proven by the Tibetan Dalai Lamas. It's proven by all relationships of tulkus, reincarnations. So just by accepting that reality and accepting the fact that we do reincarnate, and there could be these Buddhas that control where we reincarnate, how we reincarnate, what qualities or ray qualities we have to be put into us, so that we can join a group plan rather than our individual plan. But from what I understand, at this time, we are receiving enormous numbers of peoples who have sat with the avatar. So the avatar can recapitulate, come to recapitulate in that relationship, receive that vibration, and send it out through the world by expressing their merit in humanity rather than in themselves for desire of recognition. So that means that we go into the golden age. We go into the age to where we begin receiving the merit of godliness within ourselves, our goodness that we have planted in previous lives. All starts coming together as a person from that continent, sharing all the other communities. Okay, consider that the collective sharing of evil, sharing, karma, is we are now in an age where that will flip into another thing. And that flip will be the merit stored inside you, reawakened, and energy spread out throughout the world. So these people who do this will no longer identify with their own individual nation, but will be interested in traveling to other parts of the world and looking at the world as one, one family. That's what's happened in Czechoslovakia. That's what happened in Russia. That's what happened in the United States. The United States is a melting pot. of all the nations. There is no Americans. No such thing. The American Indians are living in a little bitty hovel. They're all alcoholics and they're not recognized whatsoever. There is no America. All it is a collective body. Same thing with the UK, same thing with Russia, same thing with other countries that within their time were of a separative order. But now because of the consciousness of the Buddha consciousness coming in, creating common sense, common unity, camaraderie, common unity, allowing the energy to unify, the Holy Spirit to be spread out so that we do not see the differences or the propaganda. We see the truth. We see a Russian now, in the last 20 years, through satellite, has been able to view the Americans and be able to abolish the energy of propaganda. Propaganda. Same thing with every other country, because of communications. Communications is the essence of the Holy Spirit, whether it be done in telepathy, or whether it be done on video, be done in books, whether it be done on a telephone. The wider the spread of communication, the greater the word of the truth will come forth. And that will create a unifying brotherhood and sisterhood around the world, which is what's taking place. So as this process takes place, we have less fear, less doubt, less separativeness within ourselves, and our merit begins to unfold. Because we don't have neighbors from Russia projecting to us astrally. Like if you were a Russian, you'd be projected to the Americans as being the terrible capitalists of the world, and that they're just ruling everybody and they want to go over and take over every country. And if you have that projected to you, then you will not grow. Your astral body will think, you don't know why, but your astral body will be projecting doubt about yourself. And you'll have separativeness between each state of the United States, whether it be Japan, Tokyo, Taiwan, Korea, no matter where you're from. If there's propaganda in one part of the country or one part of the world, lies projected toward the other part, those brothers and sisters feel it. And they have fear against those people. They don't want to get to know them. I don't trust them. The essence of trust keeps common sense and keeps your spiritual merit from manifesting if it's not developed. Make sense? So as the essence of trust begins to open up, then your past merit of being amongst the avatars as they have come to the planet, and their true common essence that they put out to give you the initiations on a group level that you have received, begins to recapitulate. And the nations get healed through the Holy Spirit. That's the first work of the avatars on the planet, is to heal the nations. And it's done by what I just told you. Make sense? You have that all over the place. And all that is the ancient karma from misuse or perverted use of your own behavior in past lives. So let's say in Yugoslavia or Hungary, they had dictators that could rule that country and keep people in a very dominant, weird state. And we're only at the edge of the change. Change hasn't even really developed yet. We've only been given satellite and certain communication skills so that we can see the truth. And those who are of the meritorious energy of the light and their initiations, they can start seeing with positive vision, despite the drug abuse and the mafia and the Costa Nostra and the misuse of the black market and the lack of money exchange and the improper use of children and relationships to relationship. And those are happening, but we're also right at the very edge of being able to seal it and close it off. But in its process, all the areas of degeneration or misuse and all the problems that we've got, all those areas begin healing through vibration by common sense. In other words, let's say we're in the age right now of 1992, okay? As certain numbers of people begin to recapitulate, and they're not large, because of the common sense and the lessening of the powers of Hungary, because there are people who are high initiates in Hungary, people who are high initiates in Yugoslavia, and just when it starts to release, their merit starts to pour out. And they start awakening, and new incarnates, their children start coming in. Now, 35 years from this period of time, we will have a whole new group of enormously powerful beings on the planet that will have the idea, will have the answers to how to solve the drug problems, the money problems, because all those people will be dead. Most of those people who are in their 40s and 50s right now that are making these problems will be dead within 30 to 35, 40 years. And the children who are of the light today will take their positions. If you look in the past, just 20 years ago, we had very stupid people running all different areas of life. Very stupid, dense people. They had no way of acknowledging the worker, the employee, the woman, the ability to vote, the ability to recognize what's going on. It was so stupid, just dense minds. All down here, everything going down, selfishness in every way. But the young kids came in, and those people started dying off. And all of a sudden, these young yuppies took over. And now we have profit-sharing corporations. We have all kinds of different communication abilities. We have all different types of ability throughout the entire workplace where women can walk in and they can take positions where they're rightfully made to take because they're a better person for the job. And those positions are slowly but surely opening up. Those areas are opening up. And as all these very dense people who are not going to change leave their body, because we go from generation after generation toward evolution. And a lot of the drug abuse relationships and all the relationships of money and laundering and all those qualities is ran mainly by governments. Not so much by, most governments are ran by interest groups, small interest groups that hold 2% of the money on the planet. And they have a strong interest of being able to elect who they want to elect. The person is but a puppet in there. So after a while, in time, we will have people that will be so clear in what they will do and what they will not do, they will not allow themselves to be a puppet. They'll tell the truth about the relationships of what is really going on in the world that has been covered up. And that will make changes around the world and answer problems that people have got that no one's willing to tell them about. That's because the dark is not incarnating in the same way. And if they do incarnate, they incarnate as the children to the ones of the light. And by the time they become 30 years old, they're redeemed by the love that was manifested from their parents. So you may have this rowdy little monster who is Hitler, he's got to come back. And if with the right mother and father, that child can be redeemed. And it'll still be an ugly little ship, but at least it can't do the damage it did before. They're buffered by light. And it's by the generations of these loving mothers and fathers and schools and systems of people and less propaganda, because where there's separativeness and you can hold a country and keep them from knowing what's going on in another country, and you give them books and you give them information of lies, then you maintain the stupidity. You maintain the ability for lunar lords to be born in the children. Because those children who have some potential of coming out into the light, if they cannot see the truth and they're fed the untruth, then slowly but surely what could have been good for them spirals downward and they lose their merit. So we go through a counter-evolutionary spin. That's been going on for ages. Wonderful positions that are very hard to take on. Lawyer positions and all kinds of political and economic and scientific positions. And they're infiltrating with light in throughout the entire system. So slowly but surely, the entire process completely changes. Teachings as to how the etheric body works and bridging the relationship of science and religion. And it opens up a whole new revelation. So actually scientifically proved the etheric body is where it begins and it manifests through the physical and all the other realms of the emotional and mental bodies. But without the teachers of the light, without light can come through to give us ideas, because we have so much doubt coming at us that we might get the idea, but our doubting mind just loses it in a second. So we can't save these kids. Tuberculosis comes back and we're dying all of AIDS and we have all kinds of cancer problems and lung problems. Those are the major energies, this disease, these energies of disease which holding humanity into a pocket of fear on the astral plane. Teachings that will send people out into having and investigating with great will and faith and aspiration toward their calling in life. And they'll make manifest the most wonderful inventions and the most fantastic abilities to understand the etheric body and its relationship to the physical body. Right now, there's hardly any scientific investigation going on in that area because we don't believe in the light of the body. We believe in the density material problem of the body. So,
gets to the question, well, why did he stick around?
he did. That's the problem everybody's got. They think he left, but he didn't. He never left, not one day. What took place was that he, in his time as Jesus, he lived out through his fourth and ended in his resurrection through the fifth, because he regenerated instead of reincarnated. He became regenerated. To regenerate. He created a new form. The form that he was created in was the form that he is in heaven, as the last Buddha, or the first Buddha, the first and the last, whatever you want to call it. And so in that reality, he received the ascended body of his true form in the likeness of what Jesus looked like. So Jesus was very much in the likeness of this ascended being, but the ascended being was a much bigger person. Now, so when he came back and was able to dematerialize in front of people and show all different types of abilities. And just to prove that this physical person that they're talking to, despite it doesn't look like the Jesus they knew just a few days ago, is the same person. So that 2,000 years later, when the time comes for reappearance, the people who reincarnate will have a direct understanding and recognition of that person as having not left the planet, and put his feet onto the ground and impressed himself into the earth, known as Babaji, the immortal one. All the same person. The Babaji, the Maitreya, and the resurrected Jesus, not the incarnate Jesus, but the resurrected Jesus. So that's why in the Bible it talks about they're going to send a helper, the energy of the helper. And the helper is the resurrected one, who is beyond all limitations of karma and is the Dharma king, the king of Dharma. Make sense? You can look back through history. You can be an anthropologist. You can go through scientific study through anthropology. You can go through all these different... And I'm not saying, geez, I know the truth. But if the truth is the truth, you should be able to prove it. It shouldn't just be something you have to believe in. So when I give forth any more information, the information on the rays, the information on the qualities of initiations, the qualities of the rays, the qualities of the nations in the rays, the qualities of astrology in the rays, the qualities of the different aspects of the lunar lords and how they manifest rays to the astral plane. There's so much to talk about, so much to explain. And I'll do it in a very, as I have, in a descriptive way, so that each person kind of goes, that's what I thought, this is kind of like, and it helps you move along your own line and begin your own study and the own quality that you need to develop. Does that make sense? So slowly but surely I will talk about the rays, but I'll talk about it in a long-term reality, because I can't just say, this ray does this ray does that, this ray does that, because then you're going to wonder, what chakra does it affect? How does it affect the chakra? What rays are working as an initiate? I'll tell you one thing, every Buddha that is to be a Buddha, now there's bodhisattvas, people who are in some day and age will become Buddha. But the true Buddhas only incarnate on their soul and personality levels and monad with the rays 1, 2, and 3. They do not use the rays 4, 5, 6, and 7. Their personality, their soul, and their monad is only in the aspects, the energy of Trinity. The quality of love, wisdom, the quality of active intelligence of the Holy Spirit, and the quality of the will of God. They only work through Trinity because they're children of heaven. There are not 7 rays in heaven. There are only 3. And when it comes down to the final essence, it only comes down to love. All the rays are nothing more than aspects of love, refracted out, like the sun refracts out light into a crystal. It then manifests as 7 rays. But originally it was pure white light, all the source of love. So the Buddhas come through the first 3 rays. Humanity takes on the qualities of the 4 aspects or attributes of the rays. 4, 5, 6, and 7. And they work those qualities out until they can become clearer and higher qualities and incarnate those higher aspects. And that's when they become Buddhas. Does this make sense? Second initiation is the ability to discern and discriminate. So instead of being psychic, and first initiation gives you this power of psychicism. You have great sensitivity. You have much more psychic ability. You can read minds almost. You have cosmic experiences. All that kind of stuff. And you draw to you without discernment or discrimination in a powerful way, like a magnet. So it's in the second initiation you align to your heart. And your heart has the ability to literally tell you to shut up. Don't say any more. Don't give this to this person because they're going to misuse it. Get out of here. Don't share communications. Don't stand with that person. Don't sit at that table. It gives you the free will to have a choice. And when you start using that choice and being able to stand as one person who's responsible for their life, once you're able to literally do that, and you're not using someone else and someone else is manipulating you and you, oh, well, maybe you're right, I'll go do that, and you keep tripping up and you go down one path down to another and you waste a lot of time. As your essence becomes clearer and purer, you find out that the qualities that you're coming out of, these people are not. And it's not your job to be the savior of the world or of any human being. Your job is to be the keeper of harmlessness and to allow your harmlessness to affect other people by your own beingness, not by saving someone. You can't save anybody. The only thing you can do is be harmless. And if you're harmless, they may learn to become harmless. You don't have to think, oh, it's my karma to be in this room with this person who's doubting me and saying this, well, I have to help this person work it out because somewhere in our karma in life, that is your doubting mind, that is your astral body in connection with that person, putting guilt and attachment into relationship. This could mean your mother, your father, your aunts, your uncles, every aspect of your life, sooner or later comes into a place to where you have to discern and to discriminate and step back in a level in which is correct. Sometimes pulling completely out, sometimes just pulling back. But to have the choice to be able to do exactly what you're feeling you need to do. And it's only when you can do that, when you gain back the sensitivity of being able to respond, when you can do that, you have responsibility, the ability to respond to the moment. When you can do that, you can be in the moment. When you've done that, you're a third degree initiate. You're in the now. And you're not persuaded, and you're not allowed anything other than your own soul union. I read that in a magazine. Yeah. The harmlessness starts in 3 stages. And the first stage is being able to recognize your physical world. See what you're doing physically. What are you doing to your own life? What are you doing physically? Are you just laid back and not doing anything? Are you so sedate that you just can't get up? Are you putting junk into your body? Are you doing things that you're just out of control? You don't really know that you're harming yourself. So you start taking consideration as to what's going on. You start considering the temple that you're sitting in. You don't have to be a vegetarian. All you have to do is not be guilty. Be guilt-free. Go into it, and then your feeling body will come into it and go, I feel like a steak. Well, then you have a steak. And you won't be doing wrongness, or you'll have vegetarian, or you'll have whatever you want. But you won't be doing wrongness. But if you're doing it in a way in which you think you're doing wrong, then you're projecting into the food in peril, and you'll eat the things you shouldn't be eating. You'll consume the things you shouldn't be consuming. So you just, first of all, become aware of what you're doing on the physical plane. And then you become aware of how you're feeling on the emotional plane. How do you react to people? How do you feel? How emotional did you get today? Were you upset? Were you this or that? You don't think bad things about it. Just become aware of it. If you become aware of it, your soul, the light of compassion, comes in and goes, and then that light comes and destroys or dispels the energy of that emotion. It allows you to calm down. Your anxiety becomes less because you're actually moving yourself through the vehicles. You have 3 vehicles, your physical, mental, and emotional vehicles. When you move through these vehicles and you become aware of what really is going on, and you see the truth about what's going on, you could face the truth, and face it without doubt or without negativity, but just face it for whatever it is. Because it could be bad. It could be you're lying, or you're deceiving yourself, or you're in a grandiose projection, you're receiving astral crap, and you're possessed by entities, that could be going on. And it's not until you face it, do you discern it, and begin discriminating, and begin pulling it off. It just goes away. And then you go to the mind, and you see how you're thinking. Whether or not you're clearly thinking with harmless ways. And you start clearing a vehicle pathway so that your personality becomes integrated, and you're not focused out of the desire of your physical needs, or your emotional desires, or your mental desires, which are separative in themselves. They all start working together in this telepathic, intuitive connection, and it allows a free channel for the light to come through your soul and to integrate your soul with your personality, and you become a completely harmless being. Yes, actually your ego becomes a greater ego. Yeah, because the ego that speaks out in one's identity is a lesser ego. The greater ego becomes active. It goes out and does something. Doesn't want to be known for something, but does something. Only if that activity becomes a part of your reality, rather than just the astral desire. Make sense? Because the soul is really a big thing. Often, a healer will come into contact by using magnetic energy, by their love magnetism. The chakra reacts to that, and it could have been dormant, but it was to recapitulate, and it's the timing for that essence to take place. But if the healer goes to the person and pushes their base center and wants it to go up out their crown so that they become enlightened, they're messing around. They're really in the wrong place. They're on a very big ego projection. So they're not magnetically projecting what is before them. If a healer, on the first step of a healer is magnetic healer, pranic healer, radiatory healer. Magnetic, pranic healer, radiatory healer. Magnetic healer is a person who has someone before them, and all they're doing is becoming a responder to the very energy the person is. So they're only sending back, but in a pure way, the person. And they're using their hands to do it. The pranic healer doesn't use hands. They just stand back. And they can sense what's going on. In my teachings, the way I teach, and all my teachings are what we call the teachings of Maitreya, and it comes through the energy of Shambhala. So all the teachings that I put out literally helps the person understanding if you can witness, analyze the chakra that is stuck and the chakras that are active, then esoterically you can actually sense and know logically in your mind, not so much anymore through your senses, through your psychic centers, but through your mind, so that you're actually mentally using your mind to help reconstruct a triangle of relationships. So if a person does have a sacral center that's opening up, you can facilitate them by helping them align to their throat center, because it's those two centers that come together. And that doesn't push anything at all. All it does was help a polarity of alignment, of right relationship to stabilize while it's already in active movement. But if you try and go from sacral up to the solar plex, you're pushing the person in the wrong direction. It's just a lack of understanding of esoteric laws that are applied in the making of a human being to become a Buddha. The main thing of my work, which is to bring an attitude into people, because I believe that a certain attitude will make major changes in people. And I give all this information, and if you do some studying, look into a few things, you might find that it has some parallels that make sense. The main thing that I point out is this avatar reality, this epoch reality, and that the being that people call Jesus played out his part as Jesus, and they create a Catholic Church for it. But that same being, as I said, resurrected and has been on this planet since that 2,000-year period. This is the time of the return of what they call of Christ. The real Christ is a bodhisattva. It is Christ Jesus, but it's not in the same dogmatic platform that people have put out. So they're not. One should not expect a man with holes in his hands and holes in his feet and sorrow in his heart. They should expect an authoritarian who knows what the heck he's talking about and what is going on. He has never been recognized. He did that 2,000 years ago. And all that quality that he took on that time, all of our time, our dates, and the Christian era is greater on this world than any other energy. So he has established that part of his mission. A part of that information is the reality of the reincarnation and the return of Christ has happened. It is on the planet. Just take an attitude in your hearts that this avatar impression that I've talked about and the energies that come through that make common sense and a world change is happening. That it's on schedule and it's in advance. It's much in advance as to what it would be. By many records and what many people have prophesied for the coming, there would be a greater coming of doubt and darkness. The Christ made a decision in 1947 to take an incarnation in order to overthrow the coming of the Antichrist.
Let the forces of light bring illumination to mankind. Let the spirit of peace be spread abroad. May humanity of goodwill everywhere meet in a spirit of cooperation. May forgiveness on the part of all mankind be the keynote at this time.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. 1992, yeah, that's before anybody ever heard of internet. And nobody ever had on their mind whatsoever flying cars, electric cars, autopilot, solar on houses, solar creating all the electricity. But I did. I've been working in that field since 1973, yeah, on a day-to-day basis, studying anything I could find that would further these things to happen. When it got to 1992, it was time for me to begin my process as Buddha Maitreya. So I'd be enthroned from 1990 to the year 2000. Most likely I would not get enthroned until the year 2000. Yeah? But I would go back to Kathmandu, go back into India, go back to many places, bless everybody, sit and bless and bless and bless for years. And then finally one day, everybody realized, the highest Rinpoches realized, that I really am the reincarnation of Maitreya. So that brought on the year 2000. Yeah. So this is 2021, and this is 1992. That's 29 years ago. And yet, if you listen to what I said, I spoke of things that are happening as though they're happening today. Yeah. Very just communications, people working together, all these things that were not happening at that time. It was completely not at all in that way. There were no philanthropers that were giving away money. There were no young people. They were going to incarnate, and they did incarnate. And it was a 30-year period, like I said, before those people come into fruition. They really take hold. Yeah, and that's where we're at. Elon Musk has really taken hold. Yeah, he came into fruition in the very mid-90s, yeah, and began his process of being overshadowed until he got to be able to develop space stations, develop the relationship with the electric car, develop solar, all these things that were fostering, and hundreds of thousands of tukus, young initiates that are ready to work in this manufacturing field of putting these new technologies out, whether it be computers, laptops, iPhones, all of that. Imagine how many millions of new incarnates had to take place from 1990 on to fulfill what I said in that room. Yeah, that's how things get done. That's Shambhala. Yeah, it comes out and it is initiated. Yeah, and as I'm speaking, I'm in a room. Well, I'm in this room full of people who do not speak English. Nobody speaks English. 2 people spoke English. One person that was on the microphone, the other person that introduced me. Yeah, and the rest were from Vietnam, Taiwan, China, No way were they English, but they were all previous incarnated Buddhist disciples. And they had no idea that that's what they were. They were there to learn how to manifest their wishes and become powerful. It was a lecture for empowering yourself to become powerful. Yeah. So the things you desire, the things you want, are the things you're going to get out of life. Yeah. Totally different than the class that I gave when I was teaching. Yeah. So all those people showed up at my next class, and that initiated my work of being able to fund me for the first time, for me to be funded. And from there, I was able to begin sending money into going into Kathmandu and start making my way on to Kathmandu. By the time I got to 1990, I think it was 1993, 94, I was ready to go to Kathmandu. A movie was being made, Little Buddha, all from what I had initiated in London. It was all coming into fruition. So by the time 1995 came around, 1993, 94, 95 came around, it was time for me to go in, start putting all my Tibetan clothes back on and walk around and start receiving all the young tukus who died and came back. Yeah. So whether they were 5 years old, 6 years old, or brand new babies, that is what I did from 1990 to the year 2000, was that I became the father to tukus all over the place.